front of your bag. I have my badge on the front, so I'm going to start on the front. We have our already prepared zipper, and we're going to open it up a little bit. And we're going to take the edge that is furthest away from us, and it's going to be face down, and we're going to start at where the gusset ends or begins, depending on how you look at it. Right at that seam, start there, and we're going to clip this in place. And you want to just slowly clip it along. Make sure you're not pulling it tight. It shouldn't be loose. It should be perfect. Okay, so that's one key to putting in a perfect zipper is consistency with how you attach. It also needs to be evenly aligned at the very top. So you're going to go all the way across, excuse my arm, and you're going to stop at where the gusset ends. And now we're going to unzip this, and we're going to flip it, and we're going to attach the other side. Now, it's easy to get this twisted. So sometimes what I like to do is go ahead and just kind of get this side going over here so that I know when it's all right that it's going to be just fine once the zipper is put up. Okay, so kind of just twist it in place. This is going to go like so, and then when this is up, okay? So hope that's not too confusing, but better to do it this way first. So now that we know this is the right way of the zipper, we're going to come over here and we're going to put this at the beginning of this gusset. Make sure you're right at the seam. And we are clipping in place. You can use double-sided tape, I think, but I don't like to myself. But some people do, so you do you. Okay, and clips, and we're getting down to the end. So now that we know our zipper is in the right direction, we can take this clip out and put a clip right here at the end of this seam. Now, the test is you would now kind of fold this up and fold this up and make sure you could zip it. If you couldn't, well, you can restart it. Worst thing, you also could take the zipper pull off altogether and then just flip one of the seams. But I think it's easier just to kind of test it the way I showed you. So we can tell now that our zipper will zip up perfectly nice. So next thing is make sure you have enough clips. I like extra clips. You know me. I have a clipping problem. Okay. So we want to take a marking pen, these little leather marking pens, and just mark on the zipper where you want to stop sewing. Even though you can see it on the seam allowance, it's easier, I think, just to go ahead and mark it in case you start getting sidetracked and thinking about something else. So just mark that seam, come over here, and mark this seam where you're going to stop. Put your clip back. Now, we're going to go to the sewing machine and we're going to sew 1/8 of an inch from here to there. You want to keep your zipper kind of pulled down, okay? So just kind of at an angle like so. And this is how it looks from this end. Again, we've tested it, so we know that when this all gets pulled up, it'll zip up beautifully. So that is how easy it is to attach the zipper. We're going to go to the machine, like I said, give it a quick basting stitch in place, and then we will insert this into our lining. We will then top stitch, and our bag, besides the exterior straps, will be complete. So I'll see you at the sewing machine. Okay, so here we are at the sewing machine. I have kind of spushed my bag out a little bit so I can get to the zipper. Hopefully you can see. And we are sewing right 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. I'm doing, like I said, a regular 3.5 stitch length, and we are sewing the zipper to the exterior. Just follow the edge of the bag with your foot. make sure the bag is, the other side's underneath and not in the way. And you're going to sew all the way to that first line that you drew. Do a little back stitch there. Now we're going to cut that thread and we'll sew this side. So pop this under the machine, move it out of the way. Don't be afraid to manhandle it just a little bit. Start on your line that you drew. Keep your threads behind you. And go. And we're just sewing the length. Hopefully you can see some of this, huh? Pretty easy stuff once you've done it a couple of dozen times. So, get into it at the end. Make sure your bag's not in the way underneath there. And we are sewing all the way to the end. Do a little back stitch. That is it. So we have our zipper. We know that it works because we tested it before. It's going to look super sharp once we attach the lining. So good job. Let's go back to our desk and we're going to attach the lining and then we'll do our final top stitching and that will complete the exterior. Actually, that will complete the bag and then we'll work on the straps next week and that will complete our entire bag. So I sure hope you're having fun. You know I am. So see you back in a second. So we're ready to insert our bag with our zipper into the lining. So people sometimes get confused about which way is the front and back of the lining, but actually it is exactly as you see. So we want the back of our bag to be the zipper pocket. So I'm just going to take our bag, we're going to smush it a little bit, and we're going to put her inside. Now you do want to unzip your zipper quite a bit. You get plenty of room for it to be out of our way when we do our stitching. So we'll just pop the bag into the lining. And then ensure that both of our zipper ends are inside the bag and out of the way. So. And now we're just simply going to clip, clip, clip. So first of all, you might want to match up your gusset seams. It's an easy way to start. Match those up. You can nest your seams like in the quilting days to ensure a really nice line up. So we just put a clip there. And then you can just clip around and follow the edge of the lining with your zipper tape. And then we're going to come over here and we will line up this with the gusset. We already did our rough fit, so we know it all lines up nicely, which is nice. So just line that up. Put a clip. Put one in the center there as well. And continue along. We'll trim our little wings later on. Just clip along. And if you want, you can go ahead and do the other side before you get all done, just to make sure it lines up, but we know it does. So I'm gonna pull the zipper out of the way so I can line up the gusset. So just take your time doing this. There's no hurry, no urgency. That way you get nice aligned seams and you'll be happy when you're all done. Okay, so we'll continue clipping. Now I said earlier that we are going to do the top stitching next, but no, we have to first attach the zipper to the lining, my bad. So we'll do that next. Then we will flip it and top stitch it. So, okay, so we have it pretty much in place. So I will tighten up some of these little corners here, but I won't bore you and make you watch. So let me just finish up this little part, but you get the general idea. Just attach your lining. We already know it fit because we did a rough fit before, and then we will do another seam. This time we're going to do 1/4 inch seam allowance. Then we're going to turn it, and we will do the top stitching. So I will be back at the sewing machine shortly. Thank you. So now it's time to attach the lining to the zipper tape, and I'm just going to use my existing stitch that we used before as a guide. So I'm sewing 1/4 inch. I'll just start here. You know the pattern calls for 3/8, and by all means, if you are more comfortable with that, do that, but I'm doing 1/4 inch. So we're sewing. As long as you are consistent with your seam allowances, your zipper will not be wavy, I promise you. So it's kind of a fun thing once you do it to say, hey, look, Ma, no ripples. Okay, so we're just going around. I took a lot of extra care, which I didn't show you or bore you with, to make sure that my zipper tapes on this end were tucked in super, super carefully. No way are they going to get caught in my seam allowance. Just so that we can be sure everything is nice. Okay. Now we're sewing across the gusset. You don't have a seam allowance as a guide, so just use your plate or your common sense, or both. Now back to the front of the bag. And you know, I've noticed that some of my Deckerville light is coming detached from the bag, so you can refuse it. Oh, sorry about that. You can add some heat to it to make it reapply, or I just added a couple of strips of double-sided tape to get it to be back in place. So, but I think after a while, I'm manipulating the bag, it does come loose, no matter how well you adhere it. That's just my experience. Okay. Making good progress. Not sure how much of this you can see, but do my best for you. Now we're coming around this side. There's threads everywhere. The other gusset. And coming to the finish line. Start and stop. Now, because I have done a 1/4 inch seam allowance, I'm not going to trim the seams. I think they'll be just fine, but you can go ahead and trim off your little wings now, if you'd like. Time to set them free. Free, free, set them free. Sorry about that. Okay. The wings are free. So now I'm going to turn the bag through the hole that we left in the lining, and then I will show you how I top stitch. I'm going to top stitch, however, at my Juki 1541, mostly because I like to. I think it'd be fun to show you a different machine. So I have right here. I have turned my bag. So turn the bag through the lining opening, and everything looks nice. And I have pushed the lining into the bag and clipped it in place. I like to use these larger clips for this kind of work here, just because they leave less indentation, I think. So, as you probably know from previous bags I've made, I like to top stitch from the inside. So I'm going to turn the bag inside out, and there we go. It's a little prettier. So we are top stitching from the inside of the bag. It'll be difficult maybe for you to see. So I have my bobbin fully winded, so we don't have to worry about running out of thread. Doing about a 5.0 stitch length on my Juki 1541. This is a compound walking foot machine. And I'm going to start my stitching just on one of these. I'm going to start it on the dark colored, the charcoal fabric, just to get things going here. And you're going to want to leave a long thread, as always, and not backstitch, so that you have a nice clean finish. So I'm using my 1/8 of an inch edge foot, and I'm keeping the zipper tapes especially careful out of the seam allowance, and we're top stitching. I hope you can see this, but just use the edge of the guide and take it super slow. Don't sew your fingers. Ask me how I know. But you know, once you sew your finger, you really only ever do it once. I'm happy to report, so it's good news. And we're just sewing along. Always take your time at this step, just because it's so important, especially if your thread is dark like mine, you'll be able to see it. I have a needle down or needle positioner on this machine, as well as my 8700, so whenever I stop sewing, it always stops with the needle in the down position, which is a great feature. And we're going. I am kind of pulling the fabric away from the zipper as we go, just to make sure it's not jammed up or anything, but I know it's perfect. And sew along, getting to the first, actually the second gusset. And the walking foot machine just goes so nicely over those little humps. Not a challenge for it at all. Bring it around. It's a good sized bag, so you don't really have to struggle much getting it under the foot, which is nice. Along the home stretch, and there's threads everywhere. Nobody said sewing was neat, did they? straighten up to our previous stitch line. I am not back stitching. I'm going to pull the threads to the back. And that is that. Just trim off some of these, not those threads, those are my long threads. Actually, those threads can stay. So we're just going to pull our bag right side out again. Okay, well, I actually had a small little goober. I fixed it without boring you to tears about that. So now I'm going to turn the bag gently. I'll do it like that. I can do it faster. So, give her a nice little poofing out. The lining is in nice. Should fit good. Okay. And I will tell you, I accidentally got these seams, one of the seams caught up inside when I sewed it on. So I just unpicked it and I stitched it back. That's what we do. So now we have our bag. We can zip it up perfectly, like so. And see if I can zoom out here. Oh, wrong way. So now we have this beautiful bag. Zips up nice. We'll give her a good press. So all that's left to do right now with the bag is you're going to go inside the bag. You're going to inside the pocket, pull out the lining, pull the lining through the pocket like we always do, sew up the lining, push it back down, and then finish up your zipper pocket. So you've all done that a few times. So the next thing we're going to do next week is we're going to make the 2 different straps and our bag will be complete. So looking good. Nice looking bag. I love Paulette. Pretty. Okay guys, see you next week.